नमस्कार। आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत इंडिपेंडेंट रिसर्च एथिक्स सोसाइटी की आयुष समृद्धि ज्ञान गंगा के 2491वें पड़ाव पर आपका स्वागत। विषय हम हर सोमवार को आपके सम्मुख होते हैं। विजया भांग कैनबिस लीफ मेडिसिनल यूजेज इन 19th सेंचुरी। इंडिया में क्या मेडिसिनल यूजेज होते थे उसके और कब से होते चले आ रहे हैं, पर्टिकुलरली 19th सेंचुरी पर फोकस करके आज हमारे साथ पुनः मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं मिस्टर कोशी अब्राहम को, जो इंडिपेंडेंट कैनबिस रिसर्चर हैं और बिल्कुल मतलब कैनबिस के ज्ञान के सागर हैं। मैं तो यूं कहूंगा पूरे के पूरे उन्होंने कैनबिस पर पूरा अधिकार, पांडित्य है इनका। मैं बिना समय नष्ट किए मिस्टर कोशी अब्राहम को सादर आमंत्रित करता हूं। Start with preamble. In the meantime, I am downloading your presentation.
Okay, sir.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the kind words. I'll just share my screen.
Great, 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 great. Wow, great. Your screen is visible and you are audible
Thank you,
also.
sir. Thank you, sir. Shall I start the presentation?
Yes, yes.
So today I want. Okay, sir. Thank you. Today I want to talk about the medicinal uses of cannabis in the 19th century. The areas that I'm looking at covering is shown on the slide. Basically, I want to talk about basic references to ancient literature, the different communicable diseases, the non-communicable diseases that cannabis was used to treat, the different conditions such as pain, how it was used as a tonic, the medical properties of cannabis as specified, the different ways in which cannabis is administered to as medicine, and the different sections of society that used cannabis for specific purposes, including the usage of cannabis for animals in the 19th century. I'll briefly talk about some traditional preparations that cannabis was used for. Essentially, the entire presentation is based on the Indian Hemp Drugs Commission's report. So it's all the content is from that. So out of the 20 questions the Hemp Drugs Commission had posed to the 1,100 witnesses, there were 3 questions which were related to the medical uses of cannabis. And it was primarily about is it being prescribed by native doctors? What kind of diseases is it being used for? Is it used for animals? If you see, some of these questions were quite pointed in the sense that they took the witnesses in a certain direction. So it was not open-ended questions. So I do feel that in that sense, the responses were narrowed because many witnesses tried to focus on the specific categories of information that the commission wanted to get information on. It is essentially that these 3 questions that nearly all the witnesses responded about, even though it should probably have been focused only on the medical experts. But as I had stated earlier, there were hardly any native practitioners of Indian medicine on the study of the commission. It was mainly European or British senior medical experts, their juniors, and people that they interacted with this information was retrieved from. The Hemp Commission does refer to a few ancient medical texts when they talk about the usage of cannabis as medicine. So these texts I've just listed down in the slide. Some of them are from India, but we also see that they were also referring to Islamic medical texts and Persian medical texts. The commission found that the main schools of traditional medicine that used cannabis were the school of Ayurveda, the school of Unani, and the tantric medical systems. They found that the indigenous communities, the tribal communities, the native Indian communities were key practitioners who used cannabis as medicine. They found that there were certain communities who were specialized in medical treatment. So there's the Agastya community that they talk about, the Bogar community, Vindadi community, and the Indian native physicians were called by different names, such as Kavirajas, Tabibs, or Hakims, depending on the different communities that they came from. We see in the responses that the European physicians were essentially quite skeptical about these systems. They felt that native Indian practitioners did not follow the systematic method of how the Western medicine is prescribed in terms of precise dosages, micrograms, and those kind of things. One thing we see here is that there was, in the course of the study, there was the senior medical officers, experts, were essentially from Britain, and and even some of the senior Indian medical experts, they did not have direct contact with the actual medical practitioner who had prescribed this medicine, or the users, the end users of the medicine, who were essentially from India's often middle or lower middle classes. So the information that the senior experts got were typically through their subordinates or their hospital assistants, who would have more closer interactions with the people of India who used cannabis as medicine. We see that in the treatment of communicable diseases, cannabis was extensively used. One is for preventing these diseases, as well as for actually treating these diseases. So we see remittent fever, diseases like cholera, malaria, and other infectious diseases, sexually transmitted diseases, etc., were widely treated with cannabis. We see numerous witnesses stating that in places where the weather conditions are very hot or humid, or the water is bad, example for like soldiers who travel from one place to the other place and they don't get, and even the spiritual sadhus who travel from one place to the other place where the water is considered not of good quality, all these people felt that cannabis was effective in helping to prevent these common communicable diseases. So the Hemp Commission summarizes that there's widespread evidence, and there is a general popular impression that the use of cannabis can prevent and treat these diseases. I had mentioned in an earlier presentation about how the first contact, recorded, documented contact of the British with cannabis is supposedly when some travelers who were traveling through places which were in damp, swampy conditions, developed fevers, and then they got their fevers treated with cannabis and became well. This I had spoken about earlier. Now, when we look at the treatment of non-communicable diseases, we see that it is much, much more extensive than the communicable diseases. So we see that cannabis was used to treat diseases of almost every system in the body. So we have diseases of the nervous system that was treated with cannabis. We have disease of the respiratory system that was treated with cannabis. Disease of the digestive system that was treated with cannabis. Diseases that were specific to the urinary and the reproductive systems that were treated with cannabis. Uh, Skin diseases, that's external diseases, including white leprosy. In these cases, bhang was mixed with other ingredients. We see that cannabis was used as an antidote against various kinds of poisons, especially from poisonous fish or scorpions, or orpiment, which I understand is a arsenic compound. We see that cannabis was used to as a parasiticide or vermicide to clean the system of worms, as a wash for removing dandruff from the hair. Uh, we see that it is used, of course, as an anodyne or an analgesic, mainly for treating pain, severe pains that constantly affect people due to other ailments as well. And we know, as I had, sorry, as it said earlier, the British physicist, I mean, physician William Shaughnessy had used cannabis to treat tetanus and as an antibacterial. The main area of usage of cannabis, even in the past, as it is even today, was for pain management. It was used extensively. It was used either locally administered or as a general anodyne. It was generally poultices of bhang were created and applied for to the painful parts for local application. We see that it is used for conditions such as piles or liver and bowel diseases, and to check inflammation. Fumigation using by burning ganja or bhang was used as a sedative for piles. Dentists used small fragments of charas for teeth which had cavities or were decaying, to relieve toothache. It was found that cannabis was administered as an anesthetic to young children when they underwent circumcision. There are the many witnesses say that it was used as as an anesthetic in operations. Chloroform, I think, is essentially a Western medicine. I think before it came, ganja was being used as an anesthetic. We see that a tincture was used to help in removing teeth. These were essentially the pain areas in which cannabis was used. It was used to treat specific diseases, but it was used to keep the body and mind in good condition. So you did not have to be ill to use cannabis, which is why most people used it regularly and moderately, because the benefits were it helped to increase your appetite, it toned your liver, it removed fatigue, it helped a person to sleep better, reduced nausea, and very popular use, of course, was in hot weather, where it was a very stimulating drink. As we know, Tandai is still a popular drink, and the name is famous. We see statements from witnesses that provide further evidence about this, where one witness says that even though in a place like Dhaka, where there was high heat and humidity, and people worked throughout the day in these conditions, the conditions such as sunstroke or fever were almost unknown. All these things in today's world, when with growing climate change and heat waves, these are all things that we can look at and consider. The Rajaralaba, the ancient medical text, calls cannabis an elixir vitae. Basically, it's like an elixir of life, giving vitality and improving the whole body and mind. The Hemp Drugs Commission concluded on this area, basically saying that it was found that the well-to-do classes, the upper classes, generally drank cannabis as bhang, and it was called the cool and refreshing cup of bhang. And they basically drank it to feel energetic, to increase their appetite. Whereas the lower classes and the poorer sections of society used it for digestion and for removing the fatigue of a hard day's work. So the Hemp Commission compares the use of cannabis as a beverage to how the upper classes in Western societies drink a glass of wine during meals, and the use of ganja by the working classes as how the European working classes drink a glass of beer or smoke a pipe of tobacco after, to relax after a day's work. We see from the report that the medical properties that are associated with cannabis are quite a wide range of medical properties are linked to cannabis. We see that a lot of these properties are opposing in nature. From the findings of the Hemp Commission, we see that it is anti-inflammatory, it is used for pain, it enables a person to pass urine healthily. We see the opposing nature of the plant in terms of it being a stimulant as well as it being a sedative. It was known for its aphrodisiac quality and disinfectant quality, which we spoke about, basically vermicide, antibacterial. They speak about the benefits of cannabis for the lungs, basically to remove phlegm and clear the lungs. It was used as an antispasmodic, basically to reduce convulsions. We see this a lot being used in today's world, where it's being used to treat epilepsy. It was useful for stopping the flow of blood. We see that it was useful for inducing labor in women as an ecbolic. We see that it helped to prevent diseases that kept occurring periodically, like malaria, which you keep having relapses from coming. It was helped a person to sleep. It helped a person to perspire and sweat, and of course remove flatulence, digestion. So these are a number of the properties that are linked to with cannabis by the various witnesses who gave feedback. In terms of its opposing qualities, we see the Maghzan el Adwiya, which is the 16th, actually it's a 16th century Muslim text, I've typed it wrong, talking about how it had these opposing qualities. It would be both cold and dry, stimulant and sedative, and it would initially make you feel warm and cool you down after that. We see the opposing effects, especially with regard to the aphrodisiac quality, where the common man often used it to stimulate sexual excitement, whereas the sadhu or the holy religious person used it extensively to take his or her mind off the physical pleasures of the body. The way in which cannabis was administered was uh, widespread, so it could be used both externally as well as internally. The seeds we see were rarely used as medicine. Um, the one use that they talk about the seeds is that it was used, the oil from the seeds was taken out and used to apply on the skin. We see that bhang was generally prepared as a cold infusion. For uh, children, especially, sweets or modaks were made to treat their diseases. We spoke about how it could be applied locally as a poultice. Um, Finely powdered leaves of the cannabis plant were used as snuffs to inhale and to treat diseases of the head. The Of course, ganja and charas were mixed with tobacco gently for inhalation. Uh, Fumigation used ganja, basically burnt ganja, and the smoke was used to fumigate the targeted areas. We see that the use of both the leaves and the flowers were quite common for wounds, basically on the skin, deep wounds, sores, ulcers. All these were treated with primarily the leaves and the flowers. We see that the powdered leaves were consumed to treat diarrhea and basically high pitta states, which also includes the excessive secretion of bile. The use of hemp smoke as an enema to help treat hernia and hemorrhoids. For arsenic compound poisoning, the leaves were primarily used as an antidote. When people used for treatment for their hair, especially to remove dandruff and parasites, it was the juice of leaves that they typically used to wash the hair. Drops of the cannabis leaf juices were administered to the ear to remove pain and destroy worms and insects. We see some combinations of ganja that are used for specific conditions, such as ganja fried with mustard oil was used in the treatment of scabies. Ganja mixed with coconut oil was used to treat itches. In orchitis, which is basically the swelling of the testicles, warm poultice of bhang was applied to fig leaves, and these were bandaged around the testicles. Similarly, similar procedure was followed for treating hydrocele, but instead of fig leaves, the castor oil leaf was used. So we see from these two slides the various ways in which the plant could be administered to treat different kinds of illnesses. The sections of society that used cannabis and why they used it as medicine. I had earlier spoken about the fact that it was estimated that at least half of the working and laboring classes in India used ganja. They consumed it regularly and in moderation. They were not considered excessive users. The people who used it were almost all the classes of working people. So the commission mentions these various categories, but it essentially shows that it was used more or less by the entire working classes in India. Especially by people who were involved in a very hard physical labor, such as palki bearers, postal runners, coolies. If you see, almost this entire set of people were used hard labor they were involved in. The primary benefit of it was to relieve fatigue, to improve stamina, to sleep better in the night, and of course to prevent diseases, to increase appetite and digestion, to improve concentration, and of course at the end of a day's work to relax and to intoxicate oneself and feel better. Fishermen believe that by using ganja, they could stay underwater for longer and improve their powers of diving. The people who are involved in very intricate and delicate work that involved high amount of concentration, such as jewelers, sculptors, artisans, etc., used cannabis to be able to concentrate on their work for long periods of time, and especially to work on minute details. We see that the business classes also used cannabis extensively, but they preferred it to have it more as the beverage bhang than as the smoking it as ganja. The most important use of cannabis as medicine, which I personally consider, is what it does to your mind, because the mind, of course, is the seat or the source of all diseases. So the most important medical benefit of cannabis was what it did for the mind. So it was essentially, if it was smoked or inhaled, the effects would be quite immediate. But if it was ingested as in edible form, it would be a little delayed, the effect. The reasons why it was used for the mind, where it helped to calm the mind, it exhilarated or stimulated the mind, it heightened the senses, and one's sense of awareness increased tremendously. It was known to spark creativity. Some of the words that are used in the ancient medical texts to describe it are it brightens one's eyes, it alleviates depression, creates exhilaration, causes cheerfulness, excites the imagination into rapturous ideas, cheers the intellect. It is basically, they call it a detergent for the brain, which washes the brain and makes it clean. These mental or mind effects, medicinal effects of cannabis are the primary reason why 90% of the spiritual classes in India were revered the herb and used it primarily for these reasons. We see also that the various temples in India used bhang because they said that it enabled them to memorize the vast volumes of sacred texts by heart, and they could recite it without making any mistake in either the content or the intonation that was required. Cannabis was the medicine of the poor. Essentially, the main users of cannabis as ganja were the poorest people in India. They included the laboring classes, the sadhus, and even the homeless people who were without money. They included the tribal and the poor indigenous communities, the people who lived remotely and followed the ancient ways of life. And it was again used by these classes mainly, as I spoke earlier, for the various reasons, especially to control hunger and to relieve fatigue. The Hemp Commission makes a statement that on many occasions when the poor people did not have enough food, they would resort to smoking ganja because it helped them to bear the suffering. They say the commission says that as a rule, if the people who used ganja extensively were moderate users. They would use it daily, but they would use it in small quantities, especially to keep themselves healthy. The commission also states that they don't see excessive usage with regard to hemp or cannabis like you typically see with liquor, where the tendency is to, there are moderate users, but there are also cases of severe addiction. Cannabis was used as medicine for the elderly sections of society were found to use it generally because once a person started using cannabis around the age of 18 to 21, they never stopped it, and the usage continued till death. Women started generally around middle age, but they also, once they started using it, would typically use it till in their old age. We see some witnesses talking about the evidence they found, where one particular witness says that he examined people between the age of 40 and 60 and found them all to be in very good health condition. Of course, today 40-year-old people would not consider themselves elderly, but I, in those days, I think when lifespans were limited to 60, 65, probably 40 also would have been considered old age. One thing he says specifically, this particular witness, is that the eyesight of people who used cannabis was quite good. He was surprised to see that many people did not have cataract formations in their lens, especially people who used cannabis in moderation. Another witness also says that the as you grow older, it helps to promote digestion and keep health. Children were also prescribed cannabis as medicine, especially when you say children, it's people, young children below the age of 12. They were including infants, and the main conditions that they were given cannabis was for nausea, to prevent diarrhea, to treat diarrhea. Convulsions, we see again. Basically, this is the modern use we see of cannabis for epilepsy in young children. It was used as a sedative, where sometimes when a child is very restless and overactive, and it was used to calm the child down and make the child relax. I spoke about its use for removing teeth and for circumcision. The form in which it was given for young children was in the form of sweets. So sweets of smaller dosages would be made for children and given to them. For women, cannabis had additional benefits. So the benefits that normal male had got from cannabis was also there for women, such as all the appetite improvement, digestion, sleep, pain management. But in addition to this, there were also many specific conditions for women for which cannabis was found to be effective. So one of the main uses was by the sex workers across India used it to treat the communicable sexually transmitted diseases like gonorrhea and syphilis. Now, the usage by these female sex workers of cannabis created the myth that any woman who smokes ganja is a low-class woman. That sort of created a barrier for other women to use it. So if they used it, they would use it secretly. But the general impression was that if you're a woman and you smoke ganja, then you must be a sex worker. We see that the specific conditions for which cannabis was used was loss of blood from the uterus, relief from labor pains, heavy menstruation or irregular menstruation. The commission speaks about a particular disease called lohiva, which talks about women having menstruation daily. I spoke about how it is useful for inducing labor, especially the properties that are called ecbolic and parturifacient. We find that communities of women who were excluded from society, such as widows who went and lived alone together in different places as a community, used cannabis mainly for their mental health as well as for their religious purposes. Most women used it as either externally they applied it as oils or tinctures, or drank it as beverage. The usage of it for, as smoking was quite rare because of the, I think, primarily the society in which they were and the myths that had already been created. We see that extensively cannabis was used for treating diseases in animals. Almost half the witnesses who responded on this question say that they have come across the usage of cannabis for animals. Um, it was used to treat cattle, horses, sheep, elephants. The almost since the mammalian biology has a lot of commonality across animals and humans, we see that a lot of the conditions for which it was used for humans were also used for animals. Um, um, we see that it is used to extract worms and to remove worms. It is used to disinfect sheep skins, just like how we use it to keep our skins healthy. It was used to enable oxen to be fast and have stamina. When cows refused to give milk, or if there was a desire to increase the flow of milk, bhang was given. It was given to mares that are female horses for after delivery. Um, it was given along with salt to cattle at the start of the monsoon season, when typically cattle would feed on the young grass that starts growing and get indigestion. It was given to them to prevent indigestion. It was used to treat heat conditions and to prevent cattle from suffering from extensive heat. Um, we see that it was rubbed on the tongues of cattle to along with saffron and salt to increase the appetite and make them eat food. Continuing the diseases in animals, we find ganja was mixed with grain and pounded and given to cattle to keep them in strong and in good condition. We see today basically that the animal feed industry in places like the US are using cannabis significantly for these purposes. We see that it is used for to treat asthma and cold in mules and horses. It was a disinfectant. We see that in Burma and parts of India where elephants were domesticated, that uh, it was quite common to use ganja as medicine for elephants. One Burmese witness says that every person who had elephants would definitely keep ganja. Another Burmese witness talks about a disease called Agunbai, which he says is there has symptoms of trembling, perspiration, and excessive heat. And he says that an elephant could die within 3 years if it develops this condition, but the use of bhang cures the elephant quite fast. Even when an elephant is in mast or does not have appetite, bhang was used with other medicines. Um, the commission says that in Burdwan, the Rajbari elephants were given elephant cannabis as tonic. Some witnesses say that camels could be cured of tetanus by giving cannabis on in the following dosage: 3 alternate days, bhang, sugar, and oil. The Hemp Commission says that from the evidence that it saw, especially the number of witnesses who said that it was used for animals, and the fact that it was these witnesses are from all over India, that the usage of cannabis as medicine was quite extensive across India. There are some traditional medicinal preparations which are documented in the Hemp Commission's report. So many witnesses have given the recipes and the ingredients for various traditional medicines that were prepared from cannabis, either in paste or sweet form. Some interesting things we find are that witnesses say that cannabis works very well with milk, water, ghee, honey, salt, particular type of salt called sendab salt, sugar, fruits such as plantains, mangoes, jackfruits. So it can, in combination with these kind of foods, it can greatly enhance the medical effects. For example, with milk, witnesses say that VijayA gives is very strongly stimulating and prevents eye diseases. If you take VijayA with water, it improves digestion. If you take VijayA with ghee, it strengthens your memory, helps you to clearly speak and think. Taken with honey, it cures all kinds of body illnesses. With the salt, sendab salt, it increases appetite. With sugar, it can stop stomach spasms coming from excessive pitta. It can control diarrhea and stop cough and dysentery. Looking at all the evidence, the statements made by the Indian Hemp Drugs Commission was that it said that cannabis indica must be looked at as one of the most important drugs in the Indian materia medica. It also said that out of the 1,193 witnesses who spoke, at least 2/3 knew about the use of cannabis as medicine, which shows that throughout India it was quite well known. The commission also says that even the people who said that cannabis is bad admitted that there were temporary benefits. So, but overall, the statements, there's only about 50 witnesses out of 1,193 who said that there is no medical benefit of cannabis. If we consider today that the cannabis is prohibited worldwide and kept in the most stringent schedules of all the drug laws, and the primary reason given is that it has no medicinal value, then we can see the difference between the thinking behind the laws and the evidence on the ground. If basically I've picked up information from I have there's more, for further details and more extensive information, including each witness statement, the medical preparations, etc. It's available in my blog under this heading. I think that's essentially what I wanted to speak about today. I may have finished faster than expected, but that's all I wanted to say. Pawanji? Pawan sir, I'm through with the presentation.
कौशिक सर नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर।
सर एक स्लाइड में सुश्रुत का टाइम आपने 8th century AD लिखा।
सॉरी सर।
ये डडबल संपुरित इस तरह का है ना, तो ओरिजिनल सुश्रुत है वो तो BC में जाता है 1500 BC।
हाँ 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 हाँ, एंशिएंट
वो 8th
लिटरेचर के बारे
century
में ना। हाँ हाँ
हाँ प्लीज सर,
इसमें
अदरवाइज
ना
इट इज ओके। थैंक यू।
is in this slide, sir, you're talking about
Yes,
the
yes.
ancient literature.
हाँ,
Which particular
8th century AD. That is the edition that was संपूरित. मतलब ये प्रति संस्कारित है. ओरिजिनल सुश्रुत का टाइम तो
हाँ
पुराना है.
हाँ 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 हाँ, अंडरस्टूड सर. मैं उसका करेक्शन, ये कमीशन के रिपोर्ट में इन्होंने डेटिंग
हाँ वो
ऐसा
ठीक है
निकाला
सर,
था.
वो इतिहासकार अपने
हाँ
अपने ढंग से
हाँ
लिखते हैं. तो अंतिम
हाँ
प्रति
हाँ.
संस्कार 8वीं सदी में हुआ.
यस सर. ओके.
रिवाइज एडिशन.
ओके सर.
थैंक यू.
थैंक यू सर.
बहुत ही शानदार, बहुत ही शानदार। इतनी आदरणीय द्विवेदी सर, जितनी जानकारी डिटेल में इनके पास विजया पे है, उतनी वाकई में बहुत रेयरली अवेलेबल होंगी, ये मैं कह सकता हूँ। आपका क्या विचार है गुरुदेव?
अच्छा अच्छा है. और क्रोनोलॉजिकल ऑर्डर में भी इन्होंने दिया है पूरा.
जी जी। मैं इसीलिए मतलब बहुत रेयर ऐसा विजया पर फोकस करने वाले लोग हैं जो केवल विजया पे ही फोकस किए। मैं आदरणीय डॉक्टर सीपी शर्मा सर से कंक्लूडिंग रिमार्क्स की प्रार्थना करता हूँ। थैंक यू कौशिक जी, थैंक यू वेरी मच। थैंक यू
थैंक यू.
आदरणीय डॉक्टर के सीपी शर्मा जी। प्रणाम सर, प्रणाम सर।
हरिओम सत्सो.
हरिओम।
पवन जी हरिओम. हरिओम.
हरिओम हरिओम।
जय हो प्रभु जय.
जय हो।
स्वर्ण रजतमयी हवा के साथ
हाँ।
आप जहाँ विराजमान हैं, वहाँ आपका स्वागत, वंदन, अभिनंदन. साथ ही आपको जो विशेष अ, पुरस्कृत किया गया, का जो सम्मान किया गया, उसके लिए आपको ढेरों शुभकामनाएं.
बहुत बहुत आभार सर।
आप हमारे ग्वालियर की, भारत की और मध्य प्रदेश की के गौरव हैं. इस
जय हो, जय हो।
गौरव इस गौरव के लिए आपको ढेरों शुभकामनाएं. साथ ही आज आपने जो वेबिनार प्रथम का विषय रखा, स्वर्ण और रजत, बहुत बेहतरीन प्रस्तुतियां रही दोनों. अ, हजारिका जी, योगेश जी, साथ ही परम श्रद्धेय गुरुवर अ, लक्ष्मीकांत द्विवेदी जी, श्रद्धेय झा साहब, सभी के मार्केबल और शास्त्रीय रिमार्क. समय बदला है, सिलेबस बदला है, परंतु सिलेबस में ऐसा जान पड़ता है, मैंने तो देखा है कि आयुर्वेद के रसशास्त्रियों को उसमें बहुत ज्यादा पूछा नहीं गया,
नहीं पूछा।
क्योंकि जो जिसकी आत्मा है वो वही इसी उसी आत्मा को वो समझता है. श्रद्धेय लक्ष्मीकांत द्विवेदी जी जैसे अधिकारी विद्वानों को उसमें जोड़ना था और उसको फाइनल करने से कम एक बार रसशास्त्रियों के पास पहुंचाना था. बस जो भी है सर, बहुत अच्छा है, भारत सरकार की व्यवस्था है. साथ ही अभी अभी आपने कोशी अब्राहम जी के द्वारा जो विजया के ऊपर बिल्कुल अप टू मार्क प्रस्तुति थी, उसके लिए मैं उनको ढेरों शुभकामनाएं देता हूँ, धन्यवाद देता हूँ. उन्होंने आयुर्वेदीय पक्ष को भी टच किया और हम लोग जो सीमित योगों पर जानकारी रखते हैं, वैसे तो हमारे निघंटुकारों ने, भाव प्रकाश ने और जितने भी हमारे आयुर्वेद की औषधीय से औषधि के ज्ञान से संबंधित पुस्तकें हैं, सभी में विजया का विशेष वर्णन किया है. परंतु यह विजया, इसके प्रयोग से हम आधा चिकित्सकीय कार्य संपादित कर सकते हैं, चाहे एनेस्थीसिया वाली बात हो, चाहे हमें ऊर्जावान रहना हो, या हमें अनुकूल और प्रतिकूल परिस्थितियों में सामान्य अवस्था में रहना हो। इसके लिए हमें कोई सा भी योग किसी योग के रूप में लेना हो, चाहे उसका कोई पेय लेना हो, ये लॉन्ग सर्वाइवल के लिए, दीर्घ जीवन के लिए उपयोगी है। तो ये है निश्चित ही वृक्ष वृंगण रसायन और मनो बुद्धिवर्धक, स्मृतिवर्धक और ज्ञानवर्धक, ये हो सकती है। कोशी जी ने जो, चाहे वो बच्चों के बारे में, चाहे स्त्रियों के बारे में, चाहे प्लांट किंगडम के माध्यम से एनिमल्स के बारे में चिकित्सकीय व्यवस्थापन दिया, और उसके दोनों पक्ष रखे, बाह्य और आभ्यंतर। इसके लिए मैं उन्हें बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। और पवन जी, आपको ढेरों शुभकामनाएं कि आप ऐसी प्रस्तुतियां इस प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से ला रहे हैं, जो हमारा ज्ञानवर्धन के साथ साथ आयुर्वेद में किसी छूटी हुई विधा को आयुर्वेद से जोड़ने के लिए जो हमारी विस्मृत सी होती जा रही है उसको, वैसे जैसे स्वर्ण की प्राप्ति में हमारे जब हमारा रसशास्त्र का वो हुआ था पेपर, तो प्राप्ति स्थल में हमारे यहाँ रामकृष्ण शास्त्री जी थे, तो हम लोगों ने लिख दिया था साहब, स्वर्ण का प्राप्ति स्थल में सबसे पहले हमने लिखा था मंदिर। भारत के मंदिरों में सबसे ज्यादा स्वर्ण और शुद्ध स्वर्ण मिलता है जिसे
ठीक
हम
बोले आप,
औषधीय
ठीक बोले।
तो हम जो खनिज स्वर्ण और शुद्ध स्वर्ण की जब बात करें, इसमें तृप्ति वाला जी में हमारा आयुर्वेद औषधालय चिकित्सालय भी है, महाविद्यालय भी है, और उनकी रसायनशाला भी है सर। ऐसे ऐसे जो हमारे अच्छे आर्थिक रूप से संपन्न मंदिर हैं, ट्रस्ट हैं, उनको आयुर्वेद औषधालय और रसायनशाला दोनों का कंसेप्ट लेकर के, चाहे वो पीपीपी मॉडल पे ही ले लें सरकार के उसमें सानिध्य में, वो यदि औषधि का निर्माण करेंगे तो वो औषधियों की गुणवत्ता बढ़ेगी, उस परिसर में भी सबकी आयु की वृद्धि होगी, सभी दीर्घजीवी होंगे, ऐसा मेरा विश्वास है। तो विजया निश्चित ही विजय देने वाली है। विजया निश्चित ही हमें जरा पर विजय देने वाली है, हमें वृद्धावस्था पर विजय देने वाली है, हमें हमारे प्रतिकूल परिस्थितियों में अनुकूलता के लिए उपयोगी सिद्ध हो सकती है। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ पूरे आपके आयुष समृद्धि के सभी आज के प्लेटफॉर्म से जुड़े अधिकारी विद्वानों, एवं ये आप कह रहे थे कि आपके सहयोगी भी आपका सहयोग कर रहे हैं, मैं उन्हें भी नमन करता हूँ। हमारी आदरणीय बहू रानी को धन्यवाद पवन जी। और आपका जो प्रयास है ये निश्चित ही उपयोगी, अनुकरणीय और आदर्श है। इस आइडियलिटी के लिए, इस आयुर्वेद की इस व्यवस्थापन के लिए आपके लिए अनंत अनंत शुभकामनाएं और साधुवाद। धन्यवाद सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
जय हो, आपकी जय हो। आपको बहुत बहुत नमस्कार, बहुत बहुत नमन। कोशी जी, आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आदरणीय लक्ष्मीकांत द्विवेदी सर को बहुत बहुत नमन। मिलते हैं कल फिर एक नए सब्जेक्ट के साथ। कल लंदन में रहूंगा, वहां से मैं रास्ते से होस्ट करूंगा। कल एस्ट्रोलॉजी और स्पोर्ट थेरेपी, दो वेबिनार हैं। परसों फिर एक नया सब्जेक्ट होगा। थैंक यू, थैंक यू। आपका आशीर्वाद बनाए रखिए, यही एक प्रार्थना है।